Hello Internet, and welcome to This Day in History for the 28th of September. Today we go back almost 2,000 years to 48 before the birth of Christ according to our current calendar. On this day, Pompey the Great, attempting to seek refuge in Egypt after losing the civil war against Julius Caesar, was assassinated on the orders of King Ptolemy to basically give him an in with the divine Julius by presenting him with the head of his greatest rival. Of course, as we all know, Caesar was not entirely keen on the concept of weaker foreign kings chopping off the heads of great Roman statesmen, so immediately he then allied with Ptolemy's sister Cleopatra, and in short order brought complete destruction to the Ptolemy rule over Egypt, and eventually led it to become a Roman colony. So, what precisely do I wish to talk about today? Well, the affair itself is, of course, for anyone with even a slight interest in history, fairly well known. What it did mean was that more than anything, this was the defining moment of Roman full control, culturally, politically, and militarily, over the Mediterranean for the next half a millennium. This was the last gasp of the old Alexandrian successor states of the Eastern Mediterranean and the Middle East, and with the eventual secession of Roman governors in Egypt, Rome had fully established its hegemony over the entire Mediterranean world and started its expansion into the at least closer Middle East. There is, of course, no reason to believe that if Ptolemy had not chopped the head off Pompey, Caesar would have allied with him and allowed Ptolemies to remain as vassal kings over Egypt. Probably eventually the situation would have, occurred as it eventually did, but it did become the defining moment for Roman, shall we say, treatment of foreign vassal states. You can do whatever you want inside your own country, and we won't actually interfere that much, but mess with Rome and you will get the legions, and you will not like it. Further irony is, of course, that when Caesar himself was assassinated some years later, it was happening right outside a theater that Pompey had built in Rome and which was known as, Pompey's Theater. Such goes the world, as always. What is, of course, also interesting in this particular case is that beyond the whole political ramifications of not allowing people to chop the head off successful Roman generals, Caesar also seemed to have been generally really truly grieving for the death of his old enemy, and this might again speak to one of the strengths of the Roman rule, and the Roman culture, and the Roman civilization, namely the fact that overall, more than anything, even in such troubled times as the Roman civil wars of the last century BC, there always seemed to have been a certain loyalty towards the concept of Rome itself that overrode even the most strenuously personal hatreds and vendettas, no matter how much you, in the end, fought yourself and fought amongst yourself and wanted to kill those you disliked in your own country. Rome was what you ultimately held your allegiance to, and it was probably that removal, or the removal of that in the later empire, that turned Rome from one of the most successful imperial forces anyone has seen on the planet outside of China, and into something that could be overthrown by a bunch of screaming barbarians 400 and some odd years later. Anyway, one day I might do a video about the ending of the Roman civil wars. Otherwise, you guys can go and check out some of the old podcasts I did with this back in the old days. But I hope this have been something you found interesting. The affairs of the 28th of September on this day in history. And until the next time, I have been the Sage, and I wish you all a very happy day.